Hey everyone, welcome to this explainer. Imagine, just for a second, that the literal source of life on Earth, our sun, suddenly decided, you know what, I've had enough. Imagine it taking all that beautiful, life-giving warmth and just weaponizing it to wipe out absolutely everything. Well, today we're unpacking a really fascinating narrative straight out of the ancient and dramatic texts of the Astakaparva, where the sun deity literally turns against the world. I mean, why would the ultimate sustainer become the ultimate destroyer? And maybe more importantly, how on earth do you stop the sun once it decides to go rogue? Get ready, because this is a wild story, full of betrayal, deep-seated resentment, and a seriously clever celestial countermeasure.
Okay, let's dive right into this. The texts give us this chilling, apocalyptic threat. Quote, "Therefore, for the destruction of the worlds must I strive." I mean, just let the weight of those words sink in for a second. This isn't just some casual, everyday complaint. No, this is a calculated, deliberate resolution made by Surya, the sun deity himself, to annihilate everything. It's one thing waking up to a sun that wants to nurture you, right? But a sun that actively wants to end you? That completely changes the fabric of the universe. So what could possibly push the literal light of the world to make such a dark, unforgiving decision?
To figure that out, we kind of have to recognize that Surya didn't just fly off the handle on a whim. The text tells us that with this destructive resolution in mind, he actually retreated to the mountains of the west. Now, think about that. The west is traditionally where the sun sets, to bring us, cool evening rest, but definitely not this time. Surya went to the western mountains specifically to set up a staging ground to radiate a world-ending heat. He is essentially laying siege to the universe. And this really sets up the central mystery of our explainer. What exactly is his motive? What drove the sun into this bitter, hostile retreat?
Well, let's move along and see how this builds, because to really understand this, we have to trace the inciting incident all the way back to the era of creation, specifically an event known as the churning of the ocean. During this totally chaotic moment, a being named Rahu pulled off a massive deception. He sneaked in and drank the divine nectar of immortality. But he didn't get away with it cleanly. Surya, the sun, along with Soma, the moon, actually saw him do it, and they did what they thought was their civic duty. They exposed Rahu to the gods. But because of this massive betrayal, Rahu made it his eternal mission to seek revenge, just constantly chasing and trying to devour the guys who snitched on him.
So, the crucial point here is Surya's psychological motive. It completely shifts how we view his actions, right? Because Surya isn't inherently evil. He's just deeply, profoundly resentful. Look at it from his perspective. On one hand, he desired to benefit the gods by exposing Rahu. He literally stuck his neck out to protect the celestial order. But what was his reward for that? Absolute inaction. The gods just sat back. Surya actually laments, "They brook it quietly as I am devoured before their very eyes." I mean, can you imagine the frustration? You save the gods, and in return, they just quietly watch while Rahu eternally hunts you down and tries to swallow you alive. It's this intense feeling of utter betrayal and abandonment, and it eventually morphs into a world-ending rage.
And that rage doesn't just simmer. It boils over in the most terrifying way possible. Let's shift our focus to the immediate crisis following Surya's retreat. The text describes this immense, inexplicable heat just springing up in the dead of night. Just imagine the absolute terror. It's supposed to be pitch black, things should be cooling down, but instead the atmosphere feels like it's literally catching fire. It's a midnight terror that strikes fear into every single heart across the three worlds. The universe is practically cooking, and the actual source of the heat hasn't even shown its face yet. So naturally, absolute panic sets in.
You can literally hear the sheer terror and desperation of the great Rishis and the gods. They're rushing to the Grandsire in this frantic state, and this quote just perfectly articulates the rising stakes. They say, "Surya hath not yet risen. Still the destruction is obvious. O Lord, what will happen when he doth rise?" It's a terrifyingly simple deduction, isn't it? If the ambient, pre-dawn heat is already destructive enough to wipe out the three worlds, well, the actual sunrise isn't going to bring dawn. It's going to bring an instant heap of ashes. They know without a shadow of a doubt that they are completely out of time.
But, okay, we can relieve the tension just a little bit here. While the gods are having a full-blown existential panic attack, the Grandsire remains completely calm, anchored, and collected. And why is that? Well, because he had actually anticipated this apocalyptic threat. He saw Surya's resentment building over that whole Rahu situation, and, being the ultimate creator figure, he formulated a brilliant remedy beforehand. The world isn't going to end today, folks, because the Grandsire didn't wait for the crisis to strike before he started brainstorming. He already has a steadfast solution ready to deploy.
Enter the hero of the hour, Aruna. The texts define him as the intelligent, huge, and splendid son of Kashyapa, and he is about to become the ultimate cosmic shield. There's actually a really fascinating piece of lore attached to his arrival, too. Aruna was brought across the vast ocean to the eastern regions by his brother, the mighty bird Garuda. But Garuda's energy and form were so intense, so terrifying, that he actually had to willfully diminish his own size and energy, just so he wouldn't completely frighten every creature on Earth while he safely delivered his brother. Talk about an entrance.
And this brilliantly illustrates the mechanics of the Grandsire's cosmic plan. It's basically a simple, mechanical, three-step process to save the universe. Step 1, appoint the massive, splendid Aruna to do the duty of Surya's charioteer. Step 2, position him directly in front of Surya's chariot. And Step 3, use Aruna's immense form to take away and absorb all the deadly energy radiating from the sun. It's kind of like putting giant sunglasses on the universe. Aruna is literally acting as a cosmic filter, sitting squarely between Surya's justified, world-ending wrath and the super-fragile dwellers of heaven and earth.
And guess what? It works absolutely perfectly. Aruna, following the Grandsire's orders, does exactly what he needs to do. So when that dreaded morning finally arrives, we don't get the heap of ashes everyone was terrified of. Instead, we get a veiled sunrise. The text beautifully notes that Surya rose, but he was veiled by Aruna's person. All his fierce rays and that destructive wrath were safely filtered and softened behind his massive new charioteer. The entire universe just takes a massive, collective deep breath. The balance of the cosmos is calmly restored. Not by destroying the angry sun, mind you, but by understanding his rage and carefully shielding the world from it.
And you know, this is where the magic of these ancient texts really hits home, because they are actively explaining our everyday reality. The next time you look up at the sky, I really want you to ask yourself, when you watch a solar eclipse or a red sunrise, are you just seeing physics, or will you see Surya and Aruna? Because this entire narrative is the ancient world's brilliant way of making sense of the cosmos. Rahu eternally seeking revenge and occasionally devouring Surya, that's the mythological explanation for a solar eclipse. And the splendid, massive Aruna acting as a veil to absorb the sun's fierce heat, that perfectly explains the beautiful, softened red morning sun at dawn. It just leaves you completely fascinated by how human beings have always sought to make sense of the universe, weaving science into these epic tales of betrayal, panic, and cosmic shields. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and remember, always keep looking up.